Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grihamedis, so-called grihastas, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Materialists think that sexual indulgence is the greatest happiness in this material world, and therefore they make elaborate plans to satisfy their senses, especially the genitals. This is generally found everywhere, and specifically found in the Western world, where there are regular arrangements to satisfy sex life in different ways. Actually, however, this has not made anyone happy. Even the hippies who have given up all materialistic comforts for their fathers and grandfathers cannot give up the sensational happiness of sex life. Such persons are described here as kripanas, misers. The human form of life is a great asset, for in this life one can fulfill the goal of existence. Unfortunately, however, because of a lack of education and culture, people are victimized by the false happiness of sex life. Prahlada Maharaja therefore advises one not to be misled by this civilization of sense gratification, and especially not by sex life. Rather, one should be sober, avoid sense gratification, and be Krishna conscious. The lusty person who is compared to a foolish miser never gets happiness by sense gratification. The influence of material nature is very difficult to surpass. But, as stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. If one voluntarily submits to the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be saved very easily. In reference to the low-grade happiness of sex life, Yamunacharya says in this connection, since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. Yamunacharya had formerly been a great king who enjoyed sexual happiness in various ways, but since he later engaged himself in the service of the Lord, he enjoyed spiritual bliss and hated to think of sex life. If sexual thoughts came to him, he would spit with disgust. Text 46. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are 10 prescribed methods on the path to liberation. To remain silent, not to speak to anyone, to observe vows, to amass all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and other Vedic literatures, to execute the duties of Varnashrama Dharma, to explain the Shastras, to stay in a solitary place, to chant mantras silently, and to be absorbed in trance. These different methods for liberation are generally only a professional practice and means of livelihood for those who have not conquered their senses. Because such persons are falsely proud, these procedures may not be successful. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.15, Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agam dunvati karsneya niharam iva paskara. Only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do so. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. The real purpose of human life is to attain liberation from material entanglement. Such liberation may be achieved by many methods: tapasa, brahmacharyena, samena cha, damena cha. But all of them more or less depend on tapasya, austerity, which begins with celibacy. Sukadeva Goswami says that those who are Vasudeva Parayana, who have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, automatically achieve the results of mona, silence, vrata, vows, and other such methods simply by discharging devotional service. In other words, these methods are not so powerful. If one takes to devotional service, all of them are very easily performed. Mona, for example, does not mean that one should just stop speaking. The tongue is meant for speaking, although sometimes to make a big show, a person remains silent. There are many who observe silence some day in a week. Vaishnavas, however, do not observe such silence. Silence means not speaking foolishly. Speakers at assemblies, conferences, and meetings generally speak foolishly like toads. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as vacho vegam. One who wants to say something can show himself to be a big orator, but rather than go on speaking nonsense, better to remain silent. This method of silence, therefore, is recommended for persons very attached to speaking nonsense. One who is not a devotee must speak nonsensically because he does not have the power to speak about the glories of Krishna. Thus, whatever he says is influenced by the illusory energy and is compared to the croaking of a frog. One who speaks about the glories of the Lord, however, has no need to be silent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtaniya Sada Hari. One should go on chanting the glories of the Lord 24 hours a day. There is no question of becoming mona or silent. The 10 processes for liberation or improvement on the path of liberation are not meant for the devotees. Kevalaya bhaktya. If one simply engages in devotional service to the Lord, all 10 methods of liberation are automatically observed. Prahlada Maharaja's proposal is that such processes may be recommended for the ajitendriya, those who cannot conquer their senses. Devotees, however, have already conquered their senses. Sarvapadi vinir mukta tam tat paratvena nirmalam a devotee is already freed from material contamination. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore said, Dustamana tumi kishera Vaishnava pratistara tare nirjanera gare tava harinama kevala kaitava. There are many who like to chant the Hare Krishna mantra in a silent, solitary place. But if one is not interested in preaching, talking constantly to the non-devotees, the influence of the modes of nature is very difficult to surpass. Therefore, unless one is extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness, one should not imitate Haridas Thakur, who had no other business than chanting the holy name always, 24 hours a day. Harivilas Maharaj does not condemn such a process. He accepts it, but without active service to the Lord, simply by such methods, one generally cannot attain liberation. One cannot attain liberation simply by false pride. Text 47. By authorized Vedic knowledge, one can see that the forms of cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the cosmic manifestation is his energy. Both cause and effect are nothing but energies of the Lord. Therefore, O my Lord, just as a wise man, by considering cause and effect, can see how fire pervades wood, those engaged in devotional service understand how you are both the cause and effect. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As described in previous verses, many so-called students of spiritual understanding follow the 10 different methods known as Mona Vrata, Shruta Tapo, Dhyayana, Swadharma, Vyakya, Raho Japa Samadhaya. These may be very attractive, but by following such methods, one cannot actually understand the real cause and effect and the original cause of everything, Janmadasya Yata. The original source of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Sarva Karana Karanam. This original source of everything is Krishna, the Supreme Ruler. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He has his eternal spiritual form. Indeed, he is the root of everything. Bijam Mam Sarvabhutanam. Whatever manifestations exist, their cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This cannot be understood by so-called silence or by any other hodgepodge method. The spiritual cause can be understood. I'm sorry. The Supreme Lord. Okay, this original source of everything is Krishna, the Supreme Ruler. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha. He has his eternal spiritual form. Indeed, he is the root of everything. Bijam Mam Sarvabhutanam. Whatever manifestations exist, their cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This cannot be understood by so-called silence or by any other hodgepodge method. The supreme cause can be understood only by devotional service, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:14-21, the Supreme Godhead personally says, Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya. One can understand the original cause of all causes, the Supreme Person, only by devotional service, not by show bottle exhibitionism. Prabhupada writes so nicely. Okay, text number 48. O Supreme Lord, you are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the object of sense perception, the life bearers, the five senses, the mind, consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything subtle and gross, the material elements and anything expressed, either by the words or by the mind, are nothing but you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This is the all-pervasive conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which explains how he spreads everywhere and anywhere. Sarvam Klav Idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Nothing exists without him. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham tesu avastita. I exist everywhere, and everything exists in me, yet I am not visible everywhere. The Lord can be visible only through devotional service. Tatra tistami narada yatra gayanti madbhakta. The Supreme Lord stays only where his devotees chant his glories. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Text 49. Neither the three modes of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajo-guna, and Tamo-guna, nor the predominating deities controlling these three modes, nor the five gross elements, nor the mind, nor the demigods, nor the human beings can understand your lordship, for they are all subjected to birth and annihilation. Considering this, the spiritual advanced have taken to devotional service. Such wise men hardly bother with Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As stated in several places, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotional service can the Supreme Lord be understood. The intelligent person, the devotee, does not bother much about the practices mentioned in text 46. Mona vrata shruta tapo dhyayana swa dharma. After understanding the Supreme Lord through devotional service, such devotees are no longer interested in studies of the Vedas. Indeed, this is confirmed in the Vedas also. The Vedas say, Kim arta vayam adyest yam ma, kim arta vayam vakshyamahe. What is the use of studying so many Vedic literatures? What is the use of explaining them in different ways? Vayam vakshyamahe. No one needs to study any more Vedic literatures, nor does anyone need to describe them by philosophical speculation. Bhagavad Gita 5.52 also says, Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyati tarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya strutasya cha. When one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing devotional service, one ceases the practice of studying the Vedic literature. Elsewhere, it is said, Aradito yadi haris tapasa tata kim. If one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in his service, there is no more need of severe austerities, penances, and so on. However, if after performing severe austerities and penances, one does not, let's see, however, if after performing severe austerities and penances, one does not understand the Supreme Personality Godhead, such practices are useless. Text 50. Therefore, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all persons to whom prayers are offered, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because without rendering 6 kinds of devotional service unto you, 1. Offering prayers, 2. Dedicating all the results of activities, 3. Worshiping you, 4. On your behalf, 5. Always remembering your lotus feet, 6. Hearing about your glories, and 7. Who can achieve that which is meant for the Paramahansas? Purport, so that's a question. Who can achieve that which is meant for the Paramahansas? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Vedas enjoin, Nayam Atma Pravarchanena Labho Na Medaya Na Bahuna Shrutena. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by the study of the Vedas and offering prayers. Only by the grace of the Supreme Lord can one understand Him. The process of understanding the Lord can the process of understanding the Lord, therefore, is bhakti. Without bhakti, simply following the Vedic injunctions to understand the absolute truth will not be helpful at all. The process of bhakti is understood by the Paramahansa, one who has accepted the essence of everything. The results of bhakti are reserved for such a Paramahansa, and this stage cannot be obtained by any Vedic process other than devotional service. Other processes, such as jnana and yoga, can be successful only when mixed with bhakti. When we speak of jnana yoga, karma yoga, and dhyana yoga, the word yoga indicates bhakti. Bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, executed with intelligence and full knowledge, is the only successful method for going back home, back to Godhead. If one wants to be liberated from the pangs of material existence, he should take to devotional service for quick attainment of this goal. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Prabhupada is not mincing his words. He's saying everything that is absolutely the pure knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we should not be dazzled by the mantra, the people who chant so many different mantras. All we have to do is chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That includes all the other mantras. And if we chant regularly every day, at least 16 rounds, that's, of course, the minimum. There is no maximum. You can chant all day long if you want. Just like Haridas Thakur, he was chanting all day long, all night long also. So it says here, Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, executed with intelligence and full knowledge, is the only successful method for going back home, back to Godhead. If one wants to be liberated from the pangs of material existence, he should take to devotional service for a quick attainment of this goal. Now that is very, very important statement, and we should pay attention to it. If one wants to be liberated from the pangs, meaning the miseries of material existence, he should take to devotional service for quick attainment of this goal. devotional service, like serving the deities, cleaning the temple, bowing down when you come to the temple, and going on Sankirtan. All these things are devotional service. That's why it says, if one wants to be liberated from the pangs, meaning the miseries of material existence, he should take to devotional service for quick attainment of this goal. Text 51. The great Saint Narada said, thus Lord Nrsingadeva was pacified by the devotee Prahlada Maharaja with prayers offered from the transcendental platform. The Lord gave up his anger, and being very kind to Prahlada, who was offering prostrated obeisances, he spoke as follows. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The word nirguna is important. The Mayavadi philosophers accept the absolute truth as nirguna or nirakara. The word nirguna refers to one who possesses no material qualities. The Lord, being full of spiritual qualities, gave up all his anger and spoke to Prahlada. You see, the Lord being full of spiritual qualities. Before that it says, the nirguna refers to one who possesses no material qualities. Okay, let's see what the Prabhupada's going to say. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Prahlada, most gentle one, best of the family of the Asuras, all good fortune unto you. I am very much pleased with you. It is my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living beings, and therefore you may ask from me any benediction that you desire to be fulfilled. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhakta Vatsala, the Supreme Personality who is very much affectionate to his devotees. It is not very extraordinary that the Lord offered his devotee all benedictions. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, in effect, I fulfill the desires of everyone. Since you are my devotee, whatever you want for yourself will naturally be given. But if you pray for anyone else, that prayer also will be fulfilled. Thus, if we approach the Supreme Lord or his devotee, or if we are blessed by a devotee, naturally we will automatically achieve the benedictions of the Supreme Lord. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura says that if one pleases the Vaishnava spiritual master, all of one's desires will be fulfilled. Text 53. My dear Prahlada, may you live a long time. One cannot appreciate or understand me without pleasing me, but one who has seen or pleased me has nothing more for which to lament for his own satisfaction. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One cannot be happy under any circumstances unless one pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but one who has learned how to please the Supreme Lord need no longer lament for his material condition. My dear Prahlada, you are very fortunate. Please know from me that those who are very wise and highly elevated try to please me in all different modes of mellows, for I am the only person who can fulfill all the desires of everyone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The words Dhira Sarvabhavena do not mean in whichever way you like. Bhava is the preliminary condition of love of God. Atashaktis tato bhavas tata premad bya undachati sada kanam ayam premna pradurbhave bhavet krama. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4.16. The bhava stage in the final division before one reaches love of Godhead. The bhava stage is the final division before one reaches love of Godhead. The word sarvabhut bhava refers that one can love the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different transcendental modes of mellows, beginning with dasya, sakya, vatsalya, and madhurya. In the santa stage, one is on the border of loving service to the Lord. Pure love of Godhead begins from dasya and develops to sakya, vatsalya, and then madhurya. Still, in any of these five mellows, one can render loving service to the Supreme Lord. Since our main business is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can render service from any of the above-mentioned platforms of love. Narada Muni said Prahlada Maharaj was the best person in the family of Asuras, who always aspire for material happiness. Nonetheless, although allured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who offers him all benedictions for material happiness, because of his unalloyed Krishna consciousness, he did not want to take any material benefit for sense gratification. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Pure devotees like Prahlada Maharaja and Dhruva Maharaja do not aspire for any material benefit at any stage of devotional service. When the Lord was present before Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva did not want to take any material benefit from the Lord. Swamin kritarto smi varam na yatshe. As a pure devotee, he could not ask the Lord for any material benefit. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed us. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmani sware bhavatad bhaktir aituki twayi. O my Lord, Jagadisha, I do not pray for benedictions by which to achieve material wealth, popularity, or beauty. My only desire is to serve you. You kindly engage me in the service of the servant of your servant. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the seventh canto, ninth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Prahlada Pacifies Lord Nrsingadeva with Prayers. What time is it now? We still have time? Okay. Chapter 10, Prahlada, the best among exalted devotees. This chapter describes how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsingadeva, disappeared after pleasing Prahlada Maharaj. It also describes a benediction given by Lord Shiva. Lord Nrsingadeva wanted to bestow benedictions upon Prahlada Maharaj, one after another. But Prahlada Maharaj, thinking them impediments on the path of spiritual progress, did not accept any of them. Instead, he fully surrendered to the Lord's lotus feet. He said, if anyone engaged in the devotional service of the Lord prays for personal sense gratification, he cannot be called a pure devotee or even a devotee. He may be called only a merchant engaged in the business of give and take. Similarly, a master who wants to please his servant after taking service from him is also not a real master. Prahlada Maharaj, therefore, did not ask anything from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, he said that if the Lord wanted to give him a benediction, he wanted the Lord to assure him that he would never be induced to take any benedictions for the sake of material desires. Wow, that's pretty serious statement. Exchanges of devotional service for lusty desires are always very prominent. As soon as lusty desires awaken, one's senses, mind, life, soul, religious principles, patience, intelligence, shyness, beauty, strength, memory, and truthfulness are all vanquished. One can render unalloyed devotional service only when there are no material desires in one's mind. Thus, Supreme Personality Godhead was greatly pleased with Prahlad Maharaja for his unalloyed devotion. Yet, the Lord provided him one material benediction, that he would be perfectly happy in this world and live his next life in Vaikuntha. The Lord gave him the benediction that he would be the king of this material world until the end of the Manvantara millennium, and that although in this material world he would have the facility to hear the glories of the Lord and depend fully on the Lord, performing service to him in uncontaminated bhakti yoga. The Lord advised Prahlada to perform sacrifices through bhakti yoga, for this is the duty of a king. Oh, nowadays, the kings are not interested in doing this. They want to simply eat, sleep, mate, and defend, and take people's money and spend it for their own sense gratification. It's so sad. Prahlad Maharaj accepted whatever the Lord had offered him, and he prayed for the Lord to deliver his father. Oh, just see what a pure devotee Prahlad is. And his father tried to kill him in many different ways, but now he's praying to Krishna, please deliver my father. That means he's a pure devotee. In response to this prayer, the Lord assured him that in the family of such a pure devotee as he, meaning Prahlada, not only the devotee's father, but his forefathers for 21 generations are liberated. There it is. 21 generations of a pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj can liberate 21 generations of his family members. The Lord also asked Prahlada to perform the ritualistic ceremonies appropriate after his father's death. Then Lord Brahma, who was also present, offered many prayers to the Lord, expressing his obligation to the Lord for having offered benedictions to Prahlad Maharaja. The Lord advised Lord Brahma not to offer benedictions to asuras, as he had to Hiranyakashipu, for such benedictions indulged them. Then Lord Nrsingadeva disappeared. On that day, Prahlada Maharaj was installed on the throne of the world by Lord Brahma and Sukracharya. Thus, Narada Muni described the character of Prahlada Maharaj for Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he further described the killing of Ravana by Lord Ramachandra and the killing of Sisupala and Dantavakra in Dwapara Yuga. Sisupala, of course, had merged into the existence of the Lord and thus achieved Sayuja Bhukti. Narada Muni praised Yudhishthira Maharaj because the Supreme Lord Krishna was the greatest well-wisher and friend of the Pandavas and almost always stayed in their home. Thus, the fortune of the Pandavas was greater than that of Prahlada Maharaja. Later, Narada Muni described how the demon Maya Danava constructed Tripura for the demons, who became very powerful and defeated the demigods. Because of this defeat, Lord Rudra, Shiva, dismantled Tripura. Thus, he became famous as Tripurari. For this, Rudra is very much appreciated and worshipped by the demigods. This narration occurs at the end of the chapter. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Is our time up? Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Please chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Our takeaway for today. Thus, Narada Muni described the character of Prahlada Maharaja for Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he further described the killing of Ravana by Lord Ramachandra and the killing of Sisupala and Dantavakra in Dwapara Yuga. Sisupala, of course, had merged into the existence of the Lord and thus achieved Sayujya Mukti. Narada Muni praised Yudhishthira Maharaj because the Supreme Lord Krishna was the greatest well-wisher and friend of the Pandavas and almost always stayed in their house. Thus, the fortune of the Pandavas was greater than that of Prahlad Maharaj. Later, Narada Muni described how the demon Maya Danava constructed Tripura for the demons, who became very powerful and defeated the demigods. Because of this defeat, Lord Rudra, or Shiva, dismantled Tripura. Thus, he became famous as Tripurari. For this, Rudra is very much appreciated and worshipped by the demigods. This narration occurs at the end of the chapter. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so this is what you would call very first-class information about the pastimes of Krishna and his devotees. You never will get this anywhere else. Never. Yeah, you can go to college and they'll talk about basically wars that have taken place, people killing each other. They don't talk about something like this, especially this transcendental knowledge by which one becomes liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So we're very fortunate to hear this. Especially, let's see, the real takeaway today is Narada Muni praised Yudhishthira Maharaja because the Supreme Lord Krishna was the greatest well-wisher and friend of the Pandavas and almost always stayed in their house. Thus, the fortune of the Pandavas was greater than that of Prahlad Maharaj. You see? Later, Narada Muni described how the demon Maya Danava constructed Tripura for the demons, who became very powerful and defeated the demigods. Because of this defeat, Lord Rudra, Shiva, dismantled Tripura. Thus, he became famous as Tripurari. For this, Rudra is very much appreciated and worshipped by the demigods. This narration occurs at the end of the chapter. Okay. So the main point is that Narada Muni praised Yudhishthira Maharaj because the Supreme Lord Krishna was the greatest well-wisher and friend of the Pandavas and almost always stayed in their house. Thus, the fortune of the Pandavas was greater than that of Prahlad Maharaj. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So many things we have to learn. It's amazing. Any questions, comments? Any questions or comments?
The fact that the Lord Krishna stayed
In the house.
in the house of Pandavas.
Now you know who the Pandavas are, pure devotees of the Lord. Just imagine, having Lord Krishna in your house. Well, we do. I mean, we can have the deity of Lord Krishna. Okay, thank you very much, my devotees, my dear devotees. Please chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Haribol. So this book stays here?
Yes.
Okay.